The chamber of the Galactic Council gleamed with artificial starlight, a domed cathedral of diplomacy orbiting the twin suns of Velora Prime. Delegates from 100 star systems filled the seats, their robes shimmering, tendrils twitching, eyes blinking in a dozen different rhythms. At the center of it all stood Earth's ambassador, Ambassador Rios, his stance firm but face tight as ridicule rippled through the hall. High Chancellor Zekar Ron rose from his throne, flanked by 6 honor guards adorned in obsidian armor. He scanned the assembly, his voice dripping with scorn. "Humans, those mud crawlers, ask for parity in council affairs?" Laughter followed like an echo. "What next? Will they teach us how to start fires with sticks?" Rios said nothing. He was trained for this. His hands remained steady on the railing as the xenophobic tide washed over him. But behind his impassive face, the insult had already been relayed, secure, encoded, and received far across the stars. On a darkened deck aboard the UHS Valor, deep in Sol's orbit, Lieutenant Commander Jason, Viper, Blake leaned over a polished briefing table. The message flickered to life above it. "Operation status, green," it read. "SEAL Team 9 to deploy, observe, respond if provoked." His eyes narrowed. "Respond if provoked," he muttered. Translation: "They want us to get provoked." Blake stood 6'1", lean with muscle honed not in gym mirrors but through the quiet violence of war zones and uncharted black sites. He wasn't a man of speeches. His silence meant thinking, and when he thought, people tended to live longer. "Everyone in the bay." 10 minutes, he ordered. His voice was calm, confident. There was no need to shout. They knew. 10 minutes later, 5 SEALs stood in the loading bay, suited and armored, helmets under their arms. Sergeant Molina, the tech head, quick with a grin. Petty Officer Rourke, explosives expert, didn't talk much. Gwyn, close quarters combat. Adams, long-range overwatch, quiet but surgical with a rifle. They all turned as Viper stepped forward. "You all heard the chatter," he began. "The council laughed at Earth. Mocked the ambassador. Zekar Ron thinks we're clowns in flak vests. So they want us on Velora Prime for a security tour." His lip curled. "It's bait." "But we're biting?" Molina asked. "No. We're observing. But if they try anything at all, we're going to show them that Earth bleeds, yes, but it also bites back." "Understood?" A chorus of, "Yes, sir." The ship breached FTL like a blade through silk. Hours later, the Valor emerged above Velora Prime, a blue-green world haloed with orbital rings and gleaming satellites. From space, it looked serene. From orbit, Jason knew, things always did. Diplomatic docking clearance arrived with a smugly worded welcome. "Priority landing granted. We hope your primitive engines made the journey bearable." Rourke laughed. "Friendly already." They descended in a stealth-class drop shuttle, the Whisper, barely pinging the local traffic control systems. When they landed, there was no greeting party, just a landing pad flanked by 2 bored alien guards with twitching eye stalks and ceremonial staffs. Deliberately unimpressive. "Subtle flex," Adams muttered. "Good," Blake replied. "Means we've got their attention." Inside the facility, Council Aide Sarah Venn greeted them, all flowing robes and false smiles. She was of the Cerati species, tall, serpent-necked, her voice smooth and diplomatic. "This is merely a procedural tour, Commander Blake," she purred. "The Chancellor values transparency." "Transparency doesn't require 4 guards per hallway," Viper replied dryly, eyes tracking the armored patrols lining every corridor. "This a tour or a trap? Surely you don't think—" "I don't think. I know traps. Just give us the route." The SEALs moved like shadows, recording every hallway, scanning for backdoors, watching for inconsistencies. It didn't take long before inconsistencies found them. 3 drone sentries with inert tags suddenly twitched when Adams passed them. In the comms, Nguyen whispered, "That drone sensor just locked on." "EMP it," Blake said. Nguyen popped a micro-disruptor. The drone's eye sparked and died. No alarms. Too convenient. They kept moving, calm on the outside, but inside, tension coiled. In the main data hub, Rourke quietly planted a relay node. Data scrolled in: security protocols, patrol shifts, encrypted logs. The deeper he dug, the worse it got. "Commander," Rourke said, eyes on his wrist display. "Found something. There's an exercise scheduled. Human targets. Civilian imagery loaded into their VR drills. Time stamped for tomorrow. They're training on us," Molina said, jaw tight. "No," Blake corrected. "They're planning to perform on us. And we're the audience." Back in the temporary quarters, Jason tapped his comm to the Valor. "Confirm extraction window, cancelled. We stay. Full alert. Prepare counter-response protocols." Molina looked up. "You think we're the show?" "We're the test run," Viper said. "They wanted Earth to beg. This is them trying to embarrass us publicly, maybe even eliminate us quietly if we don't play along." Adams checked his rifle. "So what's the plan?" Jason looked out the reinforced viewport at the alien sky. "We don't react. Not yet. We let them think we're still the joke. Let them set the stage. But when the curtain rises, we own the show." Nightfall on Velora Prime wasn't truly dark. 2 moons cast a silver-blue glow over the jungle canopy just beyond the council complex. Inside the walls, however, shadows moved with purpose. Jason, Viper, Blake sat crouched behind a ventilation console, watching an automated patrol sweep past through a narrow corridor. He memorized the route: tight timing, predictable turns. Sloppy. These guards weren't expecting humans who knew how to think asymmetrically. His earpiece crackled. "Rourke. Commander, they just rerouted our tour. Change of schedule, they say." Blake. "Why?" Rourke. "They didn't say. But they smiled." That was enough. Blake pressed 2 fingers against the side of his helmet. "Eyes up. Something's moving early." Across the compound, Sergeant Molina tapped his wrist pad. Schematics unfolded in his HUD. "They're funneling us toward the outer perimeter, but there's no secondary exits in that sector. Only dead ends." Adams, perched on a roof ledge for overwatch, watched the guards move below, faster now. "Commander, they've got snipers setting up on the east wall. Tripod-mounted plasma rifles." "Defensive posture?" Blake asked. "No. Execution posture." They'd walked into it. The observation tour was never meant to be observed. It was bait from the start, timed for galactic cameras, scheduled for maximum humiliation. Maybe even casualties, quiet, deniable, hidden behind bureaucratic smirks. Viper didn't react outwardly. Emotion clouded judgment. Instead, he whispered into the team comms. "Split. Ghost protocol. No formation, no patterns. Regroup at fallback point Delta." Molina. "We ghosting the whole op?" Blake. "We're not ghosts, Sergeant. We're the reckoning." The corridors turned hostile fast. Gwyn was the first to confirm it. As she passed what had been a dormant storage hallway, a pressure-triggered net launched from the wall. She rolled under it in a blink, hit the floor with a grunt, and shot back into shadow. Gwyn. "Confirmed trap. Passive-aggressives gone active." Down in sublevel 3, Rourke ducked behind a pillar as 3 drone guards activated in unison. No warning, no lights, just kill mode engaged. He disabled one with an electrodart to the lens and jammed the other 2 with his disruptor node. "Rourke. This isn't escalation. This is the main event." Blake dropped 2 guards silently with choke holds and moved deeper into the complex. He wasn't running. He was studying. He needed answers. He ducked into a server hub. The room pulsed blue with data streams, walls humming like a beehive. He plugged Molina's bypass chip into the mainframe. The encryption was alien, but not unpredictable. Blake didn't understand the language, but he understood military arrogance. They always left backdoors in their systems, confident no lesser being could find them. He did. Files opened. Operation name: Vermin Glass. Objective: humans to be provoked, Cornered, neutralized. Broadcast protocols initiated. Broadcast? He dug deeper. A media drone swarm was set to deploy within minutes. Every Galactic Council world would see Earth's elite humiliated live, cornered, outgunned, erased. Blake tapped comms. Confirmed media trap. Whole event's a galactic broadcast. They wanted blood in 4K. Adams. So let's give them a different show. Molina reached the fallback point first, an old sub-power station beneath the east wing. By the time the rest regrouped, Molina had already blacked out the cameras, jammed the comms, and started rerouting power. Blake stepped into the dim chamber, helmet off, eyes burning cold. They think this is theater. Let's flip the script. He pointed to the station's backup core. We overload this. We shut down the compound's east defenses. At the same time, Adams hits their overwatch, and Rourke clears their drone launch bay. Nguyen, you goes to the media tower and replace the feed with our footage. Nguyen. Footage of what? Blake. Of what happens when you back Earth into a corner. The next 15 minutes were fire and shadows. Adams dropped 3 sniper positions before they knew he was there. Silent kills, no trace left. He used their own rifles to shatter the targeting grids of the Council's forward artillery. Molina overloaded the backup generator, sending an artificial power surge through half the eastern wall. Drones sparked out, lights blew, systems crashed. Rourke breached the drone bay and left a surprise. 7 shaped charges, non-lethal but explosive enough to turn every drone's power core into shrapnel. Nguyen reached the media tower in total silence, climbed the vertical shaft like a spider, and slipped inside just as the auto-broadcast countdown began. By the time the signal went live, it wasn't ZKR's footage that appeared on 12 billion screens. It was Jason Blake, helmet off, rifle slung, standing in front of a burning drone pile. This was a trap, he said to the camera. We walked in eyes open. You thought humans were prey. He stepped closer, voice calm but final. We're not prey. We're predators who choose peace. But when forced, we end wars before they begin. The feed cut. Inside the council complex, panic rippled. Guards stumbled through dark hallways, trying to track ghosts they never trained for. Command relays were dead. Drones were down. Their tech edge had crumbled in under 20 minutes. In a private chamber, ZKR Ron watched the hacked footage play on a loop. This wasn't supposed to happen, he growled. Behind him, an aide entered, visibly shaken. Council members are demanding an inquiry. Some say Earth should be granted military parity. ZKR's claws curled. No. They are nothing. I'll erase them myself. Back at the fallback station, Blake watched the last of the team file in. No casualties. No wounds. Just fury, controlled, weaponized. He looked at the live data feed on Molina's display. Council reaction? Molina smirked. They're pissed. Confused. Some terrified. They've never seen a clean counterstrike before. Blake nodded. Good. Let them chew on it. Next move? Rourke asked. Blake didn't hesitate. We go dark. We vanish. Let ZKR wonder where we'll strike next. He strapped his helmet on, and as the power came back online across the complex, the seals were already gone, like smoke after fire. A red sun hung low over Valora Prime's second dawn, bleeding light across the jagged skyline of the Council's southern outpost. A cluster of towers loomed above the jungle floor, bristling with surveillance dishes, gun arrays, and glowing data conduits. Inside, alarms still flickered intermittently, remnants of the chaos the night before. In a shadowed ridge less than a mile out, Jason, Viper, Blake studied the facility through a high-zoom ocular lens. His expression was unreadable. Adams, he murmured. Call it. Adams' voice crackled softly in his earpiece. 8 rooftop sentries. Motion towers every 100 meters. Blind spots along the north service shaft, about 4 minutes between rotations. Drone traffic just reset to standby. Blake handed the lens off to Molina. That's our in. Rourke crouched beside them, examining the explosives pouch on his thigh. Want it loud or surgical? Surgical, Blake replied. We're not here to make a scene. We're here to remove a nerve. They moved at dusk. Each seal wore a custom-adapted suit woven with optical camouflage fibers, shifting to match the jungle's dense foliage. They didn't speak. No comms unless necessary. Every signal was a risk now. Nguyen went first, scaling the rock face like it was second nature. At the ledge, she paused, scanning the open perimeter road. A single drone glided by on a lazy patrol route. She ducked and threw a pebble into the underbrush. A second drone emerged, slave to the first, offset by 6 seconds. She whispered, 2 paired sweep. I'll time it. Blake gave a tight nod. Go. They slipped through the gap between sweeps, hugged the northern wall, and approached a maintenance shaft. Rourke popped the panel and disabled the alarm circuit with a magnetized chip. They slid in one by one, 20 meters down in silence. Inside, the passage was narrow and damp, buzzing with heat from the conduit cables overhead. The air stank of coolant and recycled power. Molina checked his HUD. Secondary grid is right below the central AI core. We shut that down, their whole system goes dumb. Turrets, tracking, comms dead. Blake looked at him. Then we make them blind. The AI core sat in the heart of the facility, behind a wall of composite plating and laser-triggered security nets. But human minds weren't trained to fight brute force with brute force. They were trained to find the seams. Blake ran a bypass to the external panel, while Molina spliced a clean data loop from the last maintenance scan. The wall shimmered. Sensors blinked once, then reset. They were inside. The AI was alien-built, a massive neural lattice suspended in a stasis field. Holograms danced above the interface, coded in glyphs no Earthborn eye could read. But it didn't matter. Rourke slid a quantum virus cube into the port. Say goodnight. The lattice began to dim. Molina's screen lit up. We've got 6 seconds before the system resets and locks us out. Blake turned to Nguyen. Now. She uploaded a secure feed, recorded combat footage from the ambush, edited in real time. They weren't just going to shut the system down, they were going to make it speak human truth. Across the Council's network, the feed went live, Viper's team tactically dismantling alien troops with precision. Not brutality, efficiency. Not rage, strategy. Humanity's message wasn't dominance. It was control. In the Council chamber orbiting above, delegates shouted over one another as the feed hijacked every terminal. Who authorized this? Is this real? Turn it off. But no one could. The outpost was down, the override seated too deep. And in the final frame of the transmission, Jason Blake stood beside the scorched remains of a council banner and said just one line. We warned you. Back on Velora Prime, the SEAL team moved to extraction. But the mission wasn't over yet. Blake paused at a surveillance console, scanning the compound's remaining command nodes. One pulsed brightly, hidden beneath the surface, shielded by reinforced data scramblers. ZKR, he muttered. What? Rourke asked. That's not a command post. That's a control bunker. He's here. For a moment, silence. Then Adam's voice, hard and quiet. We go in. Blake didn't flinch. We finish it. The control bunker was buried beneath a waterfall cavern, masked by acoustic dampeners and thermal inhibitors. No visual trace on standard scans. But human minds? They adapted. Nguyen released a swarm of microbots, tiny scouts with thermal overlays. One by one, they mapped the cavern. Found the access tunnel. Counted 3 guards. All gone within 60 seconds. Inside, the walls were smooth, lined with obsidian black monitors and command consoles. In the center stood ZKR Ron, flanked by 2 armored sentinels. He looked up slowly. So, the humans found teeth. Blake stepped forward, rifle low but not raised. We had them the whole time. You just didn't want to see. ZKR smirked. You think this stunt earns you respect? No, Blake said. You earned what comes next. The sentinels moved. Adams dropped one with a single sniper round to the helmet. Rourke charged the second, disabling it with a shock baton and a knee to the joint. It collapsed hard. Zekar raised his claws, ready to strike. Blake shot once into the air, stopping him cold. "You're not worth the bullet." 10 minutes later, the SEAL team ascended from the cavern, Zekar in restraints. No fanfare. No speeches. Just results. Back aboard the Valor, Blake stood at the viewport as the planet rotated below. Molina stepped beside him. "Council chatter says he's been recalled. Emergency tribunal." Blake nodded. "We didn't start this." "No," Molina said. "But we damn well finished it." The Galactic Council convened in emergency session. Gone were the usual postures of superiority, the lazy gestures of indifferent empires. This was different. Broadcasts from Velora Prime had gone viral across hundreds of systems. Delegates sat in silence, eyes fixed on the main holoscreen. It played again. The feed from the ambush. The human counterstrike. The capture of High Chancellor Zekar. And Jason Blake's final message. "We never sought dominance, only respect. Now you know, underestimate humanity at your peril." The silence wasn't diplomatic. It was fear. In a high-security chamber aboard the Council's orbital station, Zekar Ron stood chained, the restraints pulsing with energy calibrated specifically for his physiology. Across from him sat Jason Viper Blake, no armor, no weapons. Just a plain black uniform and the kind of composure that couldn't be faked. Zekar sneered. "You believe this humiliation changes anything?" Blake didn't blink. "It already has." Zekar leaned forward. "We are an ancient empire. You are children. You lack history, culture. You're mistaking tradition for progress." Blake interrupted, his voice low. "Your empire hasn't fought a real war in centuries. You've grown soft on ceremony. We've been fighting to survive since our first breath in the stars." Zekar shifted, but said nothing. Blake rose, stepping to the reinforced viewport. Below, Urs shimmered on the edge of light, small, blue, alive. "You wanted to use us," Blake said. "Make a public example. We turned it into a lesson instead." Elsewhere, council delegates erupted in arguments. "The humans violated military boundaries." "No, they were ambushed." "This proves their threat." "This proves their value." Ambassador Velsari of the Tlethari Empire stood, her voice cutting through the room like a blade. "The humans acted with precision, restraint, and strength. They dismantled a superior force without civilian loss. They captured, not executed, a council leader. That's not barbarism. That's discipline." One by one, other delegates began to nod. The shift was real. On board the SEAL extraction vessel Valor, the team gathered in the dim-ready room, still scarred from battle. Gwen sat cleaning her knife. "Think they'll thank us?" Rourke scoffed. "They'll promote us, then pretend they always believed in us." Molina cracked a grin. "Typical politics." Blake walked in, data pad in hand. "Zekar's tribunal starts in an hour. They're spinning this as internal disciplinary failure. Council's avoiding open war." Gwyn raised a brow. "And us?" He looked up. "They want us gone." Quietly. "No parades, no medals. Just vanish." A long silence. Then Adams leaned back. "Good. That means they're scared." 3 days later, Earth received the official statement. The Galactic Council recognizes the tactical efficiency and restraint of the Terran Special Operations Group deployed to Velora Prime. Humanity's representatives shall now receive full voting privileges in all future Council matters. No apology. Just acknowledgement. But that was enough. At a secure Earth military facility in Greenland, Blake stood alone on the tarmac as a shuttle descended from orbit. Out stepped Admiral Reeve, coat snapping in the Arctic wind. He walked up without ceremony, eyes squinting against the cold. "Council caved," he said simply. Blake nodded. "For now." Reeve studied him for a moment. "Zekar? Prisoner transferred to the Arc system. Diplomatic exile. He'll be back, eventually. Different face, same arrogance. Reeve handed over a sealed packet. New orders. From EarthGov this time. You've got a different mission. Blake took the envelope but didn't open it. What changed? Reeve exhaled slowly. Everything. We're no longer the newcomers. They saw what we are, what we can do. And they're afraid of what comes next. In deep space, a quiet transmission pulsed through the black, echoing from beacon to beacon. A voice. Human. Calm. Steady. This is Lieutenant Commander Jason Blake of Earth. To any species watching, listening, or wondering, humanity doesn't ask for dominance. But if you force our hand, know this. He paused. We will not run. We will not break. We will not bow. The signal repeated. Back on Velora Prime, the jungles began to regrow, burned clearings slowly swallowed by green. A ruined outpost sat silent beneath the trees, charred banners, broken turrets, and the marks of precise human strikes. No statues. No plaques. Just the silence of a battlefield earned. Blake stood with his team one last time before boarding their separate shuttles. Molina offered a tired salute. Hell of a week, Commander. Hell of a message, Blake replied. Rourke slung his gear. So what now? Blake turned to face them all. Now? We train harder. We stay ready. Because next time, they won't laugh. He paused, voice iron. They'll remember. And with that, they boarded. Above them, the stars waited.